All right. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Live Friday. I'm super excited to bring to you Sean Steigerwald. He's the president and co-founder of Malartu. We have a lot to talk about today, such as how to become an advisor, why you should, and how Malartu supports that. So I'll go ahead and let Sean take it away and give an introduction of who he is and his company.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So I'm Sean, one of the co-founders here at Malartu. We have actually had a pretty interesting road, but we started Malartu about 4 years ago, and we were originally an online investment platform. And we'll skip the long story, but basically what happened is over the course of 2 years, we made 25 investments and built what Malartu is today as an analytics tool to track the performance of those companies and automate some reports. And through that journey, ended up actually shutting down the investment side and just focusing on this analytics tool because we found a really strong case and use case in accounting and bookkeeping, since we were working alongside accountants to make these reports for all of these companies. So I've kind of been here since the start. We've gone through all these different changes, but for the last 2 years, I've been working closely with our Malartu partners, which are accountants and bookkeepers, and we power the advisory services they provide for their clients. So we'll get more into what that means, but yeah, that brought us here today.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Sean, for joining us. And before we jump into exactly what advisory services are, I have to ask this question because you've told me the answer before, and I think it's really cool. But how did you guys come to the name Malartu?
Yeah, so it's kind of a crazy name. On our t-shirts, we've got the phonetic spelling, but it's a little quirky, just like we are. But it's actually Irish for exchange, and that kind of embodies everything that we think about in that when we're working with clients and the exchange of data. And we work with a lot of different data sources, and the whole platform is built so that there's an exchange of value between the clients, obviously working with their accountants and advisors, and then the advisors adding value back to their business.
Awesome. I love it. I think it's such a cool name. So to lead us to our first question, what exactly are advisory services?
Yeah, it's become quite a buzzword, and it's a loaded question, but the way we look at it is it's a way of tying this financial data to the operational objectives of a client company. So not just reporting on what the outcomes were on an income statement, but what's going on in the company, how does that fit with what the executives actually want to achieve? And that takes on the form of a lot more data in our case, and being a little bit more, I guess, directional and proactive, and in giving real advice and consulting services into how to better a company. But that can be different across different industries, and even if you're working with like high net worth individuals versus businesses, it's all about identifying what key indicators are for success and then actually helping them through that.
Oh, I think that it muted for a second. That's great. So as we're listening to this, and if I'm an accountant and I think, okay, I really want to start adding advisory services, what's the best way to go about doing that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's a bunch of different ways that our partners structure it. Typically we look at this as an add-on service. So you've got your standard, probably typical compliance level services that you're probably already working with clients on, and this is an add-on where you can provide dashboards or analytics is kind of like the tangible piece of it, but really starting to ask clients about their business challenges. So beyond just the reports that you would deliver on a monthly basis, like what are they actually, what's keeping them up at night? And then how can you use the data that you own as an accountant and bookkeeper, and that kind of financial foundation, to frame it in a way that it's a solvable problem, and really just ask good questions of the clients. And so we typically try to work with folks to package this as an add-on, so maybe hundreds to thousands of dollars a month, depending on the work and the size of company, to start to bring in those leading and lagging indicators into the reports that you deliver, and then also adding your level of expertise on top of it, where you work with a lot of similar businesses to them too. So there's a lot of advice you can add in on top of those dashboards and analytics. That all of that kind of comes together as that consulting and advisory service.
Absolutely. So you mentioned leading and lagging indicators. Do you want to explain a little bit more what you mean by that?
Yeah. So that's really key in this work, and that historically, I guess it's better to define what the two are. So a metaphor I often use is in weight loss. So people say I want to lose 20 pounds, and that in our case is a lagging indicator, and that has a negative connotation. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's easy to measure. But it's usually an outcome that's kind of a result of a bunch of different things happening. Where in this same case, losing 20 pounds would mean that you have maybe like your calorie intake is down and you're burning more calories. The measurement of those calories would be the leading indicator in this case, where you'd say, if I burn 3,000 and intake 2,500 in a day, then that will lead to me losing 20 pounds over a certain amount of time. And so it's the same in advisory work and in business, where a lot of what's on the income statement would be a lagging indicator, like gross profit or net income. And while these things are helpful, obviously, in monitoring the health of a business, the work's already kind of been done. When you start to see those start to slide, it's hard to prevent some of the issues that maybe would have been preventable. And so we look for the leading indicator. So and that's different in every business. But if you're a software company, for example, leading indicators might be the number of sales calls that are being made, or the demos being booked, the conversion rates from demos to trials, from trials to customers, and those lead to higher revenue. So if the objective of the client is to increase revenue by a certain percentage, try to work backwards from that to the leading indicators of, all right, what is making up that revenue growth right now, and how can we improve on those things? And you can kind of start to see how there's a lot of data involved. There's a lot of operational data involved that accountants and bookkeepers are in a really great spot to kind of make sense of for their clients and put it all into one place, since it all ends up on that income statement, which is what we are the owners of.
Yeah, and that's so valuable to the business owners that the accountants are working with, because really they're coming to you for not only the organized financials, but they really see their accountant as the end all be all and to be that guide in their business. So if you can bring them that information and say, like, hey, if you want to hit these goals, we've outlined and mapped out exactly what you need to do based upon, historical data. This is like the actions you need to be taking, and this is the steps that we need to put in place so that you can hit them. I feel like that's a no-brainer for that client to really like never let you go, and also hire you to continue to provide these advisory services.
Yeah, totally. It's all about focus. Where providing that level, like a business owner, they know their product, they know their service, and that's what they love to do. So it's really just translating that scary financial data into something actionable they can track on a weekly basis. Like, all right, we need to make 100 calls this week. So we were making 50 before. How do we double that? That's a solvable problem that will then lead to increased revenue or better margins or whatever that might be that you're trying to improve. And I think it positions the accountant as that linchpin advisor, which is how you build a business to last, for sure.
Exactly. So I know we've talked a little bit about what Malartu is. Would you want to show a demo of it so everyone that's watching this live, whether it's right now or down the road, they can see exactly how cool it is?
Yeah, for sure. Yes, we can go into a demo of the analytics platform. That's really the foundation of all of the work that we do. And so some of the things that we do when we work with new partners is we train them on how to use the tool and implement this analytics with their different clients, and they can manage it all in one place. So we'll look at what that looks like. And then we also do other services, what we're calling managed services, where we can actually work with these partners to stand up the entire advisory arm and run it as a certain part of our team, and we're an extension of their team. And again, it all runs on analytics, but it kind of takes some of that technological know-how and even the marketing, sales, and operational strategy of an advisory service platform, and we can handle a lot of that for you. So all of that runs on this platform. You want me to switch over and we can go through a little bit of that?
Yeah, let's go ahead and share your screen. And I definitely want to come back to that managed services, because I think
Okay.
that's really important for those who want to add these services, but maybe don't quite feel confident yet.
Definitely. Okay, cool. So are we live here?
Yeah, we can see your
All right.
screen.
Nice. Yeah. So this is just a quick demo account I put together, and we can run through a couple things and just the key differentiators, since I'm sure everyone has seen a dashboard or report tool before. And like our quirky name, we do things a little bit differently. But this is basically what I have here. This is my advisor account. I'm here at the top, and on my left is this navigation to a couple of clients that I have set up. So I've got everything from a coffee shop to a brewery, wine shop, law firm, and a software firm. So each one of these clients is going to be facing different problems and have different objectives in their business. So despite my accounting or bookkeeping work might be similar across each one of them, when it comes to the advisory service, I'm unpacking a lot of unique things, what they're facing. And what that means to us at Malartu is that we need to be able to do a lot of different things without being too difficult to use, like a Tableau or a Power BI. You don't have to know any code to work in Malartu, but you can come up with really custom analytics if that's what you want to do. So I'll switch over here to Joe's Coffee Joint and just give an example of that. This is a dashboard that I put together called Franchise Performance. So in this case, Joe owns a couple locations that other franchisees own, and he wants to track the performance of those. So this data is really specific to like cups sold across 2 different franchisees, and even within that, which locations the franchisees are selling. And this is a board that I put together using data from a couple different data sources. And that's what I'll get to in a second, is that another differentiator is that while we do connect to the accounting tools like QuickBooks and Xero and Enterprise and all of those, we also have over 25 different operational data sources, and those are continuing that we add those really every week. But everything that you see on this board is easily customizable with kind of drag and drop and different features. So for this example, I put together this franchise performance on this block, but I can kind of toggle these things to look however I want on the fly and look at different view periods and all of this. So while we're solving specific problems that are relevant to these business owners, we can also dial in specific and relevant analytics to display whatever it is we're advising on.
I think it's so cool that you guys compare the franchises and take in other data besides the financial, because I know even for like myself, sometimes like this week, for example, I was trying to track like social media engagement to specific leads and see like what correlation there is between like number of posts, like impressions, what's resonating with my audience, and like how that translates to leads. So you can see where something like this is so important to be looking at all the time, especially as your business grows and you have these team members. It's not just, a couple people in the business.
Yeah, exactly. And those are a lot of great points. When you do start to dive into that, the kind of how the business is run, even at a high level, you're just automatically going to move beyond just the financial data. And especially if you buy into the idea of providing leading indicators and saying these are the things we need to track on a weekly basis to improve as a company. And that's really what our inspiration for all these integrations is, there's e-commerce companies that their web presence is really important, or their Shopify store is where all that revenue is coming from. So it's not enough to just say we need to increase our margins. It's like, which products are the ones driving our margins down, and which ones are costing us, and which ones are underperforming. So this is kind of a quick look at the different integrations you can connect. But the idea is that Malartu does provide a single pane view for every client, where you can bring all this data into one place, and then you can make different calculations and visualizations with it. But at the end of the day, this is what you advise on, and it kind of brings everyone in one place to collaborate.
So you mentioned a few of the differentiators being the ease of setup and also your integrations. As far as the ease of setup goes, if some of those people haven't, say, looked at a Tableau or a Power BI, can you like quickly explain the difference of what it's like whenever they first log on to a Malartu versus a Power BI?
Yeah, definitely. So just right out the gate, the biggest difference is, for example, to get something like Xero data into Malartu, you click on Xero, this is already activated, and we can get a one that's not activated. But you would try QuickBooks, you click activate, you log into QuickBooks, and now all of your data is accessible to Malartu. So it's maybe 3 clicks tops, including the password that you put in. So there's no data warehousing or anything that you'd have to like have some background in computer science to put this together. And the same goes for if you have 5 of these tools and you want to connect Google Analytics and Shopify and QuickBooks and Square, you just kind of keep going, clicking through and logging into those. And now all that data is coming into one place. And then from there, if you want to build for a dashboard, for example, I think we've got Harvest connected to this, but I've got this block down here called gross profit. Actually, we'll make a new one. So if I wanted to add the data from those integrations that I've connected, I would just go kind of bring the board into edit mode, data, go by data source. Then I've got these 2 sources to work with. And I can just kind of arbitrarily, if I want to, add in different things together. It doesn't matter what source they come from. So in this case, I can look at kind of a gross profit with billable hours. And if I scroll over here, you can see we've got some data in October. But to do this in a kind of one of those enterprise level tools, you'd probably have to know like merge codes and SQL and some just different code that you have to put together to put this data in one place. And obviously this is just point and click at this point.
So do you guys help the advisors set up some of their dashboards, or what's your onboarding process like?
Yeah, that's a great question, because what we've done so far is just kind of this completely custom side of things. So one of the quickest ways to get started is we also have templates. So anything that you see on this board, and typically it could come from a template. So we've got just an example in this account, this QuickBooks and Xero starter board. What this will do is build a template just from a couple clicks. So just in a couple clicks, and if I don't have Xero or data in the Xero account, but it'll build this board together that would be usually a result of a handful of different clicks and putting these blocks together. And then from here, this functions the same as anything else, where you can edit it, change the look and feel of this, but you're up and running in really a matter of seconds.
And then oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, beyond this is a template that we provide, but if you are a firm that maybe already does some kind of advisory work, you can recreate the reports you're making probably in Excel and Malartu and turn that into a template, and then that can scale just as easily across the client base, just like one of these Xero starter boards would.
That's so valuable to be able to just log in, get started right away, or use some of your previous templates. As far as the client experience, so the accountants' clients, the advisors of clients, do they get added to these various dashboards, or what is their experience like?
Yeah. So this, right now, this is kind of me managing like 5 accounts here. Each one of these accounts is actually kind of a standalone thing. So you could invite Joe from Joe's Coffee Joint into this account and give him and anyone on his team permission to each dashboard. So in this case, I've got a couple coworkers here that can all see this dashboard, but if I don't want, maybe if I want Tim to only have read permissions to this, I could change it so that he can't change anything, but he can see this. And this is all mobile responsive and all that. So he can see it on his phone, anywhere in the world. It's all cloud-based. And same goes for every account. So you'd invite your clients into each one of their accounts. And then they can also work with their team, where you can build an unlimited number of boards. So maybe I want to make a board for the executive team, but then the sales director could also use some of this information. If you to become like a really embedded and valuable advisor, you can now start to incorporate more of the team than maybe you would have historically just doing the compliance work too. And you can help them build out these boards across their whole organization.
That's awesome. So it's really great that, because I know everyone watching would wonder, like, can the clients come in and mess up the boards? You can obviously, or you can control that. And then I think another question they'd probably have is, how often do these boards refresh?
Yeah, that is a good question. So it's automatically set to refresh every night. So you could go as far as if somehow you were closing the books on a daily basis, then you could have accurate data in Malartu at all times. But you can also set that on a schedule. So within each integration, and different integrations will have different schedules. But for example, Xero, you can set to, actually, let me go to another one. You can set to basically, if you close your books on the 15th of each month, you can have Malartu refresh on the 16th to the 15th at midnight. But then something like Google Analytics is going to refresh every day. So you're going to have your updated web visits, and same for Shopify, all of your updated sales and inventory figures each day, and so forth. So every integration might have a slight difference, but you can use this as a daily management tool, and your clients can as well.
That's awesome, because I know another problem that some accountants have faced with dashboards is they either update before books are closed. So they're like, their clients might get nervous because the data, you're like, wait, it's not done yet, it's not accurate. Or they can't just set it to refresh on a certain date. So then they have to remember to actually go in and refresh. So Malartu really gives you the best of both worlds, where you get to pick when it updates and how often.
Yeah, totally.
That's great. So Sean, you mentioned at the beginning of our discussion about managed services, and I wanted to make sure that we came back to that and you could speak a little bit more about how that works.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got a good look at what we can do with the analytics platform. And it's a little bit of a lot of things, where you have different kinds of clients that maybe are in e-commerce or subscription companies or like manufacturing businesses. And so to stand up an advisory service, oftentimes it takes a good fair amount of resources. And I think most people would agree it's important, and it's kind of the wave of the future, where accountants are excellently positioned to become consultants and really valuable advisors to their clients. And their clients are already looking at them really in that light. So what our managed services are is we actually have our team can kind of perform as an extension of yours, where we can set up the pricing, the packaging, the marketing, sales strategy, and even the actual implementation and ongoing support of these services, just kind of as a part of your team, and then help you to build that business up. So this is for the folks that maybe are resource constrained, like they don't have someone on their team that can own the advisory segment yet. And so we can own that for them, alongside them, kind of co-brand, and then build that company up. And then when it gets to a certain size, where now, let's say you're making us, let's say $50,000 a year in advisory services alone, that's when we would transition that business unit back to you. And you can hire someone in-house. We'll help you do the hiring, since we kind of have the playbooks for how this works at this point. And then they take it over, and all of that is still run on Malartu. So it's just, we kind of see most of our partners run one of two boats. You've got a program in place, you've someone in-house who's owning this. Then the other side is, you want to do this, but you maybe don't have the resources to get it started. So we've got a solution for both.
That's so cool. So do you guys help them find these new clients, or is it typically their existing clients that then, let's say that they don't have the resources to provide advisory services to them, but they recognize they have a client with a need? Do you guys take on existing clients that they have?
Yeah, that's always where we start. So
Okay.
let's say you've got 50 clients, and I should be more specific. We have, and you can read a lot about this on our blog, but we have business frameworks that we run with folks to help actually frame what the advisory service is, because that's a really broad term, not really helpful in what this would do. But we typically, if you've got 50 clients or so, you've got 5 or 10 that maybe have already posed some questions that you can now solve with Malartu. So we'll help stand up those dashboards, create templates if we need to provide some service to all those and solve their problems first. But then we'll also help you implement a system that some folks might have heard of called EOS, which is really just a framework for identifying your client's objectives and then moving backwards into what data we can provide them to be helpful as an advisor. So really helping them frame their vision and their mission and their core values, and then backing that down into what their quarterly goals are. And then subsequently what leading indicators we can track to achieve those quarterly goals, and then continue advising them on that on a regular basis. So there is a specific framework that we put in place with those managed services, and it's all run on Malartu.
That's so valuable, like incredibly valuable. So if anyone is an accountant or bookkeeper watching and they don't currently offer advisory services, it's definitely worth a discussion with Sean to see if it's something that you can add to your current business. And are there certain indicators or a certain size of business you would say that if I'm looking at my client roster, maybe I could use to identify a a business that I currently have and do their books for, where I'd say, okay, I think that this one I could offer advisory services for, or is there not necessarily such a clear answer on who I can provide advisory services to?
Yeah, it's. I wish it was that easy. I will say there are a couple of guidelines where, for example, that EOS management system that we use, the sweet spot is really companies doing between $2 and $50 million a year. So again, that's a huge range. But those companies oftentimes they have a really strong business, but maybe they're a little bit stuck, and that's a system that can really get them unstuck and then provide them with the tools to grow at a rapid pace. And it's exciting to watch. But that said, every business we've implemented with much smaller ones. We run it at Malartu as well, and we've got kind of like colleague businesses that run it that are much smaller in some cases than 2 million. And then I'd say the only thing to watch out for is if you do offer advisory services as an add-on package, then you do want to be targeting clients that will have the budget for something like that, where not just the budget, but where you're confident you can provide ROI on whatever that service cost is. So if you work with smaller clients and you charge them maybe $300 a month for like an analytics and monthly advisory package, then do they make enough money that can turn around into at least $1,500, $2,000 in new revenue generated per month for what you're doing for them? And so it can be different businesses. In that case, maybe it takes a little bit of playing around on a spreadsheet to figure out what that target client is. But yeah, budget's always important because you got to get paid for your work.
Right. Absolutely. I think that what you said makes a lot of sense. You have to reverse engineer it to see if it makes sense and if you can get the client the ROI, because obviously a business doesn't want to be paying for something that is not going to give them a return. But I think I think that guideline of the 2 million to 50 is very helpful. Of course, like you said, it's not always the case, especially if it's a brand new startup. They might be way in the hole, but you kind of have an idea of how large the business is going to be, or from their projections. So that's really helpful. And I do want to take a chance. I know some people are watching live right now. If you're watching and you have any questions for Sean, be sure to comment them. And if you're not watching live, go ahead and comment your questions, because I can ensure that Sean sees them. So definitely this is an interactive thing. You have a great resource here to answer a bunch of questions if you're considering offering advisory services or you want to improve your advisory services. So I'll keep an eye on the questions section. And Sean, if they want to find out more about Malartu or reach out to you, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, would love to talk to you. So the easiest way is just email. So email me at Sean, that's SEAN, @malartu.co. Maybe there's a way we can share that, or I can comment it somewhere.
Yes, I'll be sure that all of your information in Malartu's is included in the description box, as well as the comments, so that people can easily find you all. But it seems like right now we don't have any questions. I'll continue to watch it, because sometimes they come in later, and relay any information I can to you, Sean. So it looks like I think we're going to go ahead and close up the Q&A now. But again, if you're watching this, be sure to comment any questions you have. So thank you so much, Sean, for coming on. I'm really excited about where Malartu's headed, especially with the managed services. I think that provides so many opportunities to all of these firms out there. And again, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, we're really excited. And thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
Awesome. We'll talk to you later. Bye, Sean.
All right.